The Scotland I Support by Thomas Clark. It was back in the days when Scotland still used to qualify for the World Cup, not just for any World Cup, but for all of them, always, and as far as we knew, forever. A childhood of perennials, the 80s, when the monarch was always the Queen, the Prime Minister always a woman, and the first round always the end of the line for Scotland. Italia 90 was no different. In high hopes they went, and in high dudgeon returned. The whole tournament spent teeter-tottering on the verge of extinction like a clown on a high wire. When finally they fell, it was as if the entire nation had had their hearts broken one too many times. Posters were binned, sticker albums abandoned, and the charity shops stuffed with replica shirts. The globalization of the beautiful game was about to begin. Sky was happening, money was happening, and adherence to the creed of the merely local hero was a thing too parochial to be contemplated. Names started appearing on the back of shirts, shirts on the back of sponsors, and in playgrounds everywhere our mad one-upping race to spiritual and financial annihilation had begun. It started when a boy in the year below showed up one day in a curious concoction of red, white, and blue. Fascinated, we turned him around, passing him from hand to hand, as he proudly boasted that his gran had got him it from Florida. It was the home shirt of the US national team, whose matches we'd never seen and players we'd never heard of, and it was sensational. Week by week, the new and garish colours continued to sprout up at our random kickabouts. The standard blues and greens thinned out and were replaced by dizzying arrays of neons, reds and purple hues. Japan, Jamaica, Fram Reykjavik of Iceland, the more obscure the shirt the better, so long as they were up to date. Lad once showed up at a game with a Soviet Union strip on, a straight 10 out of 10 in anybody's book, except that the USSR had dissolved 2 years previously. He was sent home in disgrace, proper sine die. It was weeks before he had the nerve to show his face again, floating nervously above the collar of a Tunisia top, which it was cruelly rumoured was fake. But shirts cost money, more money than most of us ever had. My mother, an absolute saint, had the native Scots' abhorrence of needless expense, and could not for the life of her see any reason to pay 30 quid for a football shirt when Oxfam had them for £2.50. And so, whenever she spotted a shirt in a charity shop, she would snap it up for me immediately, without discrimination, and it was always too small, and it was always Scotland. Within a year of the World Cup, I had enough shirts to put together a Scotland team of my own. They wouldn't have been much cop as set pieces. My biggest shirt was a medium boys, but with me up front I reckon they'd have done all right. We'd have beaten Costa Rica at least. But nothing could have been so passé in those days as the age-old shirt of the country you were born in. Football seasons pass straight into history as soon as they are over, and their shirts with them, suddenly cringe-worthy and irrelevant. As for the idea of supporting your local or even national team, that was dead as soon as they started showing Italian football on Channel 4 on Sundays. To wear a 2-year-old Scotland shirt was so counter-culture that a cooler kid than I might even have set a trend. But I, alas, was not that kid, and was treated instead with a mixture of scorn and pity. Not because I was poor, we all were, but because I didn't seem to understand what was important in life, and what was important in life was a Fiorentina away shirt with the tag still on. It all reached a critical mass one day when a grasping hand at a free kick tore my Scotland shirt from collar to hip. When I showed up the next day in an identical one, it slowly dawned on my peers that not only did I have the most ancient football shirt that any of them had ever seen, but I also seemed to have it in unlimited supply. A few friends gave up on me that day. There's some folks that, if they don't know, you can't tell 'em. I still have those old shirts now, folded in the bottom of my bedroom cupboard, and would wear them again if ever I recaptured the frame of a small or even medium boy. It's not the only thing about being young I would like to have back again. They were austere times, just like ours, and the monarch was still a woman, but I never thought there'd be a 12-year-old boy in Scotland who wasn't born last time we played at a World Cup. I mean, I thought I'd have played at the World Cup by now, but I haven't, and neither have any of the other 5 million of us, not for a long time. Those shirts really are history now, history of a different kind, a social history of a past when for 3 weeks each summer we all threw our lot in together and got in behind the idea of us. If there were to be winners, we would all be winners, and if, more likely, there were to be losers, well, that would be us too. No man left behind, no victory another man's defeat. It was the World Cup in 1990, and Scotland had qualified. It's a long time ago now, but I still have the shirt, because that's the Scotland I'm supporting. That's the Scotland I still hope will win.